Hey guys, Operator Drewski here, and today we're going to be looking at a loadout that I call the, stealthy infiltrator loadout. Now, this loadout is what I use for wasteland and stuff like that, just to make sure that I'm as efficient as possible when I'm attacking a base by myself in the middle of night or when it's pouring rain or something like that, where there's limited visibility and it's easy to get up close and personal to people. Now, why am I using a big sniper rifle on this? Now, I'll talk about that later, but first we're going to go into the gear first, just to make sure that we got everything down before we go into the most advanced and difficult part of this loadout. So first of all, we're going to go into the gear. Now, if you look at what I'm wearing, I'm actually wearing the CSAT version of the ghillie suit. Now, why do you ask? Well, let's look at the semi-arid version of the NATO ghillie suit and the AAF. As you can see, it's both the same, type of thin pants material, and it's not really making a difference in load, armor, or weight. But if we select the CSAT, we see it's a big difference. We see there's padded clothes. As you can see, it's kind of like a more fragmentation, almost Kevlar looking materials that are kind of protecting the leg and all that. So it's a big difference compared to everything else. Now, so that's the one we want to pick. On Stratus, you want to pick the semi-arid, and on Altus, you want to pick the arid. That's just a basic idea, because Stratus is a little bit more semi-arid or forestry or grassland-like than Altus. Altus is a little bit more dry and has a little bit more tan in it than the semi-arid does. Semi-arid still works on some areas of Altus or Stratus. I mean, there's parts of the maps that are tan and green, so it really matters on what area you're going in. But for overall use of a ghillie suit, you want Stratus to be semi-arid and you want Altus to be arid. Now we go into the vests. We're going to go down to the tactical vest. I use this tactical vest. It's fine. It's lightweight. You could use vests that are heavier, like the carry rig or even the carry rig. I wouldn't really suggest using the GL rigs or anything like that, because these are just heavy, and I wouldn't really suggest using them, honestly, for this type of loadout, which this type of loadout isn't going to be really relying on armor. It's just going to be trying to be as lightweight as possible. Therefore, if we go over to the backpacks, we don't even have a backpack in this loadout. That's one thing that's kind of special about this one. We're not going to have a backpack. This is kind of like my urban sniper loadout, where we're just not going to carry a backpack because we're going to be moving around a lot. This is a type of loadout where I'm going to be going and attacking a base. And once I use my kind of guerrilla tactics and stuff, I'm going to attack and ambush really quickly. And then once I find that the power that I'm attacking is a little bit too much of a good defense, I'm going to move back. I'm going to attack from a different angle and just continue that process where I attack from different angles, from different ways and different methods and all that. And so I'm kind of making mobility and stealth my main two advantages in this loadout. Now, with this loadout, it isn't really a long-range loadout. You're not going to be taking out people from long distances. And you're going to ask why right now, but that's because our sniper rifle isn't exactly a long-range sniper rifle. We're going to be using this Night Stalker, which is a thermal sight. It's not really realistic, because usually these run for like 10 grand or more in real life. So in real life, you're not going to see every single soldier in a post-apocalyptic state running around with thermal scopes on their guns, but we're trying to make this the most effective loadout for Armor 3, especially Wasteland, so this is the loadout I'm going for. So thermals on this gun are awesome. They, reach out to as far as your view distance goes, as far as your object rendering distance goes. So this gun is awesome, especially with the thermal sight kind of attached to it. It's both just an awesome pair. And for, going close quarters and infiltrating a base, you kind of need to look over the base, make sure you see everybody in it before you actually go in and start shooting people. Now, the thing is with this gun is that, as you can see, I've already tried some bullet velocities and stuff. Let's say I want to shoot at, person number 4's head in that line there with a normal gun. Now let's get a Katiba. Let's get some type of scope that goes kind of higher. I'll just use the same scope. Let's get a Katiba and let's shoot at Mr. Bob over there with a 500-meter distance. So it's not going to be that big of a deal because its bullet's moving really fast, and I'm really close to the guy. So let's shoot at the guy's, let's aim towards his mouth. As you can see, the bullet hit right on his head, almost right directly where I shot. I think it hit his nose, actually. That's not that big of a difference, and as we were almost, 500 meters off of what we actually were shooting at, it's not going to be that big of a difference. That's because with these bullets, it doesn't have enough time to actually drop, because I'm literally shooting from point A to point B with a very fast bullet, and therefore it doesn't have enough time for gravity to, not really begin pulling it down, but it doesn't have enough time for gravity to pull it down really quickly. I mean, I'm trying to say gravity is constant. I do know that. So it's going to be, right as it leaves the barrel, it's going to be dropping at the same rate as it does when it hits the ground. But what I'm saying is that it has less time for gravity to pull it down really quickly. So as you can see right then, I was aiming 500 meters up from his head, but I still hit his head. That's different with the ASP1 because scopes and ArmA do, I guess, adjust perfectly, and this is really, really unrealistic. But if I aim at 500 meters and I aim at the same guy's head with the same exact scope, what's going to happen? The bullet went way, way above his head, and as you can see, it also lost velocity really quickly. Now, why is this? That's because this is a subsonic gun. This gun is meant to, be as quiet as possible, and the interesting thing about this loadout is that subsonic guns actually have a bullet that moves slower than the speed of sound. So normally when you have a gun fired at you, you actually hear the crack of the bullet flying past you or flying at you before you hear the report of the gun, and that's because the bullet's moving faster than the speed of sound, and it's also emitting sound as it flies through the air. So you hear that big crack, that big, supersonic sound wave as it flies through the air, and then you hear the report of the rifle that's moving at the speed of sound. Now, how did that crack it, faster than the actual speed of sound? Is because it's being produced by the bullet as the bullet's flying through the air. As the bullet's continuously flying supersonic speeds, it's going to keep, making that crack sound as it's flying. So it's going to have a really big, and then you're going to hear off in the distance where the actual, fire out of the gun made that sound. So the interesting thing about this gun is that it has two kind of mechanisms to make it quieter. It has one, subsonic rounds, and also a suppressor. So this gun does shoot very, very slow moving but very large rounds. And the thing is that you need to kind of adjust for this is make sure that your ranging is always perfect when you fire on target. It's kind of weird to get used to, but you have to make sure that your range is perfect. And that's why I kind of picked the Night Stalker scope, is because it always shows your range. As you can see, this guy's 45 meters away from me. I'm aiming at 100 meters, so if I aim kind of below, it should hit him perfectly, and he's down. So something like that, you need to make sure that your scopes are always correct, because let's say I aim at 300, it will go right over him, and he'll never know. So that's just one thing to make sure. This gun shoots at a very, very slow velocity, so it's not exactly a long-range gun. It is a sentry killer. It's one thing that you want to go up to a guy and say, hey, I don't want you to shoot back at me. I don't want you to have a reaction time, so I want to hit you once, and I want you to be down once I hit you. So if I aim at this guy and shoot him once, then he's instantly down. He has no reaction time. If I shoot him with a smaller caliber gun, like let's say, I'm pulling out a pistol here, but let's say I shot just a 6.5 millimeter, probably wouldn't kill that guy once if I shot him in the torso. So if I shoot this guy in the torso with a 6.5, imagine this 9 millimeter was a 6.5 right then he'll probably be able to react, get behind cover, tell his buddies, or shoot back at me. So this loadout is all about just killing something quick and easy and getting up and kind of close and personal with them. And so being able to run as fast as possible and having a really, really low load is kind of important in this. And as you can see, we can already hold 12.7 round magazines, and we can hold 3 of them and even more within our just torso, because these ghillie suits do have a lot of load in them. So we can't actually hold 5 mags in there. Let's max this thing all the way and see how much stuff we can just fit inside of here and see how much load we can possibly get. Now, as you can see, our load is at 42%. That's pretty low, but what if we want to even lower? Now, we can actually make this realistic, and if we don't even want the vest, what's interesting is that we can just take the vest off. And we don't have any magazines within our vest now. All we have is our clothes. We have 5 magazines of 10 rounds each, if I'm correct. Yeah, 10 rounds each of 5 magazines. So that's 50 rounds of 50 cal. And your load is at 30%. So that is an awesome, really, really, quick and easy loadout to make yourself as fast as possible and as stealthy as possible when you're infiltrating a base. If you'd like to see more guides like this, I have a lot of guides on my YouTube channel. Check out my channel, Operator Drewski. I have a lot more, loadouts and stuff like that, as well as helicopter and airplane guides. So if you want to go check that out, please go subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time.